Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Om. May Brahman protect us, may he guide us, may he give us strength and right understanding. May love and harmony be with us all. Om, peace, peace. Good evening. So let us read from the Gospel. We are in the page 165 of this book. M at Dakshineswar, second part, December 26, 1883. So what makes it second part? In nowhere it is explained. We see that M has been in coming to Dakshineswar from the record, the diary pages that are published here. We see that from the middle of December, there have been several days, like December 13, December 15, December 17, 18, something, it goes on and on. So there have been many days when M is there at Dakshineswar. One reason is that the winter vacation, and just before winter vacation, maybe annual examination was there, and then the not regular classes are held or something, and then M had little more time. And of course, he was deeply interested in coming to Dakshineswar and attending to and listening to Ramakrishna, so being in his company. Surely that was there. M had started coming to Sri Ramakrishna from 1882, and this is 1883. So he has developed a whole lot of interest in coming to Sri Ramakrishna, visiting him and listening to him. So we find that other times it was only during weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, that he could make it, or if Sri Ramakrishna was visiting Balaram Bose's house, where he would occasionally go and visit and stay for several hours, then M had an opportunity when he would be informed. Or Sri Ramakrishna would be visiting some another place, some celebration of Brahmo Samaj going on, or he is visiting some another devotees, and then M is informed, then M could come. Even in the middle of the day from school he had come. This we have seen. But this December, after middle of December onward, till the first week of January, we see in 1884 that there have been consecutive days that M was visiting Sri Ramakrishna. There were two obstructions, two problems, obstacles to overcome. One was, of course, the distance. He needed time. He had family. He was a married man, wife, children. And it took time, those days, to come, and had to decide how he comes. And secondly, it was a financial matter also, because coming was equivalent to spending money. So that also for him, he was a very ordinary middle class person. So to come every day, now and then, all the time, the gas was expensive. So, but we find in this month of December, and it is not that it is mentioned there, we find here and there that he was staying there in Dakshineswar. Staying in Dakshineswar was another thing, which Sri Ramakrishna encouraged occasionally and discouraged also. Discouraged in the sense that he would be suggesting these householder devotees that if they come, they should be willing to spend money for stay. How? It was not that they will pay to this temple authority, some kind of a donation for that. That was not, those feudal society was not very comfortable with that. When a rich man, a jamindar, landlord, or a princely state, or someone, they are managing something, then you cannot give them small amount of money. Even this happened that later on, when Sri Ramakrishna was sick with cancer in the throat, and Surendra Mitra, he paid for renting a spacious house in Kasipur, which is now the Kasipur Garden house that Yogadhan Mutt. That house was rented by Surendranath Mitra for Sri Ramakrishna to stay there, and some devotees also could come, and a couple of them stay. Holy Mother also stays there with some servant also to attend to Sri Ramakrishna, so that it is not that far away from Calcutta, so that the doctors won't be able to visit him regularly. When this arrangement was made, Surendranath was paying the whole money, the entire expenditure. He was paying from his pocket. And then at one point of time, he came to learn that there was some kind of a rift within the devotee group, and they started collecting donation among themselves for spending all the overhead expenses, because there were other expenditures, the grocery and other things, whatever. Surendra was paying the rent for the house, and also paying whenever necessary and whenever he comes to know, or he was told for other expenditure, but perhaps that was not enough. So they started collecting donation among themselves. Donation means contribution. There were other household devotees were there, and they were raising some amount of contribution. And when that came to the knowledge of Surendranath, he was thunderstruck. He was so he felt very insulted, and he was very, very disappointed with the devotees, and he expressed his disappointment openly and complained to Sri Ramakrishna that why this is happening. So that was a feudal society. When somebody, a wealthy man, was managing something, then you don't pay him or his administration anything for it. But it has been at other places we see that Sri Ramakrishna had encouraged these householder devotees to bring with them their cook and the provision, so that when they would be staying overnight here or a couple of nights here, which Sri Ramakrishna would like them to stay in this holy atmosphere and do more spiritual practice, then they should not be taking the food and other provision from the temple authority which is meant for distributing to the poor people and the sadhus. So it would be for the mendicant monks and for the poor people to come and be fed with all the prasad and all the things. Yes, you could take a prasad a little bit, but not about that it is to feed you. So that was Sri Ramakrishna careful to tell the householder devotee. Once in a while, yes, but not on a longer term basis. If someone would come and stay for a couple of nights, then Sri Ramakrishna would encourage that. And he would tell the temple authority or the manager of the temple to find a place where he will be staying overnight and all that. That's fine. But beyond that, he would encourage them that you bring your own everything. your roll bed, bedroll, and your grocery and your cook. So that, so that all arrangements you take care of yourself and you don't become a burden on the temple. Though the temple is large administration and there are so many people employed on it, and they won't mind. They won't mind. It was Sri Ramakrishna who would be advising the devotees, his householder devotees, that it is a good thing, it is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do. Not become a burden only. And that is not good. This is right. This is righteous act. So here we find that coming consecutive days in the month of December, if you see through these pages, you'll find consecutive days he was there, or one day in between missing, again another day, like that in this second half of December and the first week of January. Most probably he was commuting from his home in Calcutta and spending the day, whole time here in Dakshineshwar, maybe once in a while spending the night there. So, here is December 26, 1883. Sri Ramakrishna, accompanied by Manilal Malik, M, and several other devotees, was in a carriage on his way to Ram's new garden. The garden which Ram had recently purchased was next to Surendra's. So where was that Ram's garden? Oh, it is next to Surendra. So, so where is this Surendra's garden? I don't know. Yeah, where the Ram's garden is, yeah. So this is a neighborhood in Calcutta. Those olden days, that was the heart of the city. Nowadays, it is a little bit on the north side of the city, old part of the city. All those historical houses, Swami Vivekananda's birthplace, or Balaram Bose's house, or Holy Mother lived there, that Udbodhan house, or M's house, or any house that we read in this book, they of course are from the old part of the city. Nowadays, that belong to the old part of the city and north side of the city. So that neighborhood called Kakurgachi, and there that entire property has been donated, and it is a part of the Ramakrishna order, and it is called Sri Sri Ramakrishna Yogodhan Kakurgachi. Yoga Udyan. Yoga for the sake of yoga, practicing yoga. Udyan means garden. So Ramchandra Datta, he bought this property garden, or call it garden house. It is a kind of a second property, retreat property. Sri Ramakrishna encouraged his wealthy followers that try to have, for the regular devotees, you say, try to have a separate room in your house, or if that is absolutely not possible, if they don't have so many rooms that one room could be just separated and kept as a shrine room, then a corner of some room nicely for doing your spiritual practices. But those who could afford to do that, Sri Ramakrishna advised such devotees to have a property which will be dedicated for spiritual practices. So whoever could afford those days, they had a separate retreat property. This kind of people would have this separate retreat property for spiritual purposes, that they could live in solitude and do meditation and spiritual practice, and others could have their enjoyment separated from their family. They will bring the dancing girls and singers, and they will drink and bring their friends and have their party going on there. So whoever had more money, wealthy people, they had a garden house somewhere. So the Belur Math campus is there. This entire property, when Swami Vivekananda started, was purchased. It was a mostly vast area, not utilized for any purposes except for the boats docking and repairing purposes, small boats. And then later on, after the campus of the, beyond the campus of the Belur Math, more properties were purchased, which is the educational complex, where I was also a brahmachari for many years and lived there for many years. And that is that entire property, that main building, there's a two-storied house and all this thing around surrounding which were the property, where later on now our education complexes are developed. That was that kind of a property. That kind of a property. Some kind of a jamindar to have fun time, weekend fun time, going away from the family. So the family won't know where he is going, what he is doing. There he will bring his friends and drink and make merry. So that was, of course, a separate property to do what you really like. That, of course, when people had money, they would do that. Even now they do. So here, Sri Ramakrishna had encouraged these devotees like Ramchandra Datta to have a separate place which will be secluded from the busy lifestyle and the noise, where you could spend more time in deep contemplation and meditation. So this is what Ramchandra Datta did. Ramchandra Datta, who was one of the founders, he was a medical professional and a chemist. He had published his books and all these things. He was a very well-known figure during his time. And he had invested or given enough money to start the first medical college in Calcutta. So in Calcutta, the medical school was first school was started with Ramchandra Datta's money. In the beginning, he was not very much believer in God or anything, but coming in contact with Sri Ramakrishna, gradually he changed and he became one of the closest and staunch follower of Sri Ramakrishna. So much so that he believed Sri Ramakrishna to be God incarnate, which is not an ordinary thing. Many people would come, they considered him to be a great saintly person, a sadhu, a great devotee of God. But to call openly that he is God incarnate in human body, that was not ordinary thing. And Ramchandra Datta was that kind of devotee in course of time. He was a transformed person. Ramchandra Datta and Monamohan Mitra, these were the two devotees, householder devotees, who came first when Sri Ramakrishna started receiving his group of devotees and circle of his real followers, who in course of time they became the instrument to spread the message of Sri Ramakrishna to the world. Everybody started hearing about Sri Ramakrishna. Before that, they did not know. So many great religious personalities and other stray devotees, they had come to Dakshineswar, met Sri Ramakrishna, and were influenced by him, and then they went away. Many had happened. So many had come. But they were not the instrument to spread Sri Ramakrishna's name or his message. They were not instruments. So those who started coming as the followers of Sri Ramakrishna, who became instrument in course of time to spread the message of Sri Ramakrishna's teaching, and who became his followers and disciples. Among them, Ramchandra Datta, Ram, and Monamohan Mitra, these two came first. They were the first arrival. Ramchandra Datta was a relative of Narendranath Mitra. So, Swami Vivekananda was introduced to Sri Ramakrishna, or was advised to go and see Sri Ramakrishna. We read that he was first told about Sri Ramakrishna in his college days in the classroom. One English professor, he was an English Professor Hasty, he told him that if you want to see, he was teaching about Wordsworth and all these things and talking about ecstasy. And if you want to see someone with ecstasy, you go to Dakshineswar Kali temple. There is one saint sitting there, a holy man, and you can see for yourself what is this ecstasy. But Narendranath did not go immediately. Oh, he has told us to go and see the Narendranath was actually advised to see Sri Ramakrishna and was invited to meet him, see him in a Brahmo meeting where Sri Ramakrishna was also coming. There Narendranath was introduced or invited, where they first met each other through Ramchandra Datta. Ramchandra Datta was a family relative to Narendranath. So Swami Vivekananda came to Sri Ramakrishna through Ram Datta because he was his family member. And Monamohan Mitra, he brought Rakhal, who became Swami Brahmananda. So these two most prominent of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, these two gentlemen became instrumental in bringing, who were their family members. They were their family relatives, Rakhal and Narendra. So this is the Ram Datta, background of Ramchandra Datta I am talking. This that Sri Ramakrishna was visiting, Ram Datta's this garden house, retreat property, where Ram Datta has purchased the property and had invited Sri Ramakrishna to come and visit, see how it was. So he was going, this is the first time that he was going there. Later on, he had visited other times also. In fact, after a couple of more days, we find again he was visiting. But this was the first time. Sri Ramakrishna, accompanied by Manilal Mallik, M, and several other devotees, was in a carriage on his way to Ram's new garden. The garden which Ram had recently purchased was next to Surendra's. Ram adored the master as an incarnation of God. He visited Sri Ramakrishna frequently at Dakshineswar. Manilal Mallik was a member of the Brahmo Samaj. The Brahmos do not believe in divine incarnation. Master to Manilal. This is he talking while they are traveling in the horse carriage. Master to Manilal. In order to meditate on God, one should try at first to think of Him as free from upadhis, limitations. God is beyond upadhis. He is beyond speech and mind. But it is very difficult to achieve perfection in this form of meditation. But it is easy to meditate on an incarnation, God born as man. Yes, God in man. The body is a mere covering. It is like a lantern with a light inside, a light burning inside, or like a glass case in which one sees precious things. Arriving at the garden, the master got out of the carriage and accompanied Ram and other devotees to the sacred Tulsi grove. Standing near it, he said, "How nice! It is a fine place. You can easily meditate on God here." Sri Ramakrishna sat down in the house which stood to the south of the lake. They're calling it lake, but actually it is a big pond, very large size pond. Those of you who have visited this place, this Kankurgachi Yogodhan, they have seen this. As soon as you enter there, on the left hand, there is a large size pond that has been translated as lake. Which stood to the south of the lake. Ram offered him a plate of fruit and sweets, which he enjoyed with the devotees. After a short time, he went around the garden. Next, Sri Ramakrishna proceeded towards Surendra's garden. He walked on foot a little distance and saw a sadhu sitting on a couch under a tree. At once he went up to the holy man and joyfully began to a conversation with him. So the sadhu was staying there in the Surendra's garden house. So Surendra also had a garden house there. And that also was because Sri Ramakrishna had advised people. So as I was just now telling, Surendranath Mitra was a wealthy person. He could afford to have a second house for his spiritual retreat purpose. So, at the advice of Sri Ramakrishna, Surendra had bought already a property there, and then Ramchandra Datta had just bought another property next to Surendra. So Sri Ramakrishna, after visiting Ram's house, he was going to Surendra's, that garden house. Surendra was not there at that time, just because Sri Ramakrishna was visiting Ram's house. Perhaps Surendra even did not know that he was coming. So he visited Ram's house and must have been told that is the Surendra's property. So let us go. So he walked there, and there they saw that a sadhu was there inside. In the olden days, there used to be many such properties of people, wealthy people, or landlords, there were many properties. And these mendicant monks, mostly they would be living in their own ashrama, in mutt, or in some kind of a famous place of pilgrimage, holy temple on a holy river side or somewhere. Or they will be traveling, visiting those places of pilgrimage, so they are mendicant monk. Or in between these three options, they might stay somewhere. And where they would stay, they will go into some kind of this kind of property. This kind of property. And they were very much welcome. It is not like they have broken into somebody's empty house and squatting. It is not. It is actually those people, because they had big property, mango grove and this and that, and some little bit of a house, and they would come, they will stay there, and they will like some such person to stay there, because otherwise the property is not utilized in any way. So they will be happy. They might have a caretaker for the property, and if they learn from the caretaker that a sadhu has come and he would be staying here for 3 nights, is okay, or 7 nights, then the owner mostly, they will be more than happy. They will say, oh, sure, provide him whatever he needs, and he should stay. So this was a regular practice. To Surendra's house, and Sri Ramakrishna walked there and saw that there was a sadhu there sitting, sitting next to the pond. So Sri Ramakrishna saw a sadhu sitting on a couch under not a pond, under a tree. At once he went up to the holy man and joyfully began a conversation with him. Master, to which order of monks do you belong? Have you any title, Giri, Puri, or the like? Because by that title or the last name of a monk, you know which sampradaya or religious order or sect that sadhu belongs to. So there is this Vedanti sadhus are there, who usually have got one of the 10 title holders. So Giri, Puri, Ananda, Sagar, Parvat, etc., are there. And then there are Vaishnava sadhus, and they are identifiable by how their names are given. Or there are other kind of sadhus also will be there. So by that last name, which is called a title, they are easily identifiable, and accordingly you can talk to them because of that religious order that they belong to. You can ask questions. So Sri Ramakrishna started conversation like that. To which order of monks do you belong? Have you any title, Giri, Puri, or the like? Sadhu. People call me a Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa order. Master. That is good. I am Shiva. That is a good attitude. Shivoham. That is a good attitude. But I must tell you something else. The process of creation, preservation, and destruction that is going on day and night is due to Shakti, the power of God. This primal power and Brahman are one and the same. Shakti cannot exist without Brahman, just as waves cannot exist without water. There cannot be any instrumental music without an instrument. So there are these two sides of same thing, just they appear differently or they are approached differently, but they are there. Both sides are there. You talk about Brahman, then you also have to accept Shakti. Without Shakti, you cannot know Brahman. Until and unless you have become one with Brahman, wherever you are standing, wherever you are grounded or located, from there, how do you approach Brahman? So you have to take the cognizance, recognize Shakti and propitiate Shakti or use Shakti to realize Brahman. Brahman cannot be known without accepting Shakti. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna was telling. As long as God keeps us in his relative world, so long we feel that there are two. If one accepts Shakti, one accepts Brahman as well. If one is aware of night, one is also aware of day. If one is aware of knowledge, one is also aware of ignorance. But there is another state in which God reveals to his devotee that Brahman is beyond both knowledge and ignorance. It cannot be described in words. What exists, exists. So this is what in the Upanishads has been said, that it cannot be described in word. It cannot be understood with your mind. It is beyond your speech and your mind. So it cannot be described, it cannot be thought of. What cannot be thought of, you cannot meditate on that. How would you meditate? Which you cannot think of. Meditate on that which you don't know what it is. Which you don't know what it is and which you cannot think of. Now start meditating. Is it possible? So whenever you are trying to call it Brahman, when you try to meditate on it, then you are objectifying something. You are objectifying that which is still unknown, which is unknown yet. And you are objectifying. So how do you do that? So many people say, well, neti, neti, neti means whatever you have got in your mind to objectify, think of anything, you get out of that and say, no, this is not Brahman, this is not Brahman, this is not Brahman. So where you eventually end up, that is Brahman. Now, it is easy to analyze this way and rationalize and explain, easy. But as Sri Ramakrishna said, he said, you know, those beats of tabla, to speak in your mouth is so easy, but to play those beats in tabla is not that easy, not that simple and easy. In tabla beats are there. This is trital, this is jhaptal, this is that, this is dadra, and all these things. Dadra will be like this, and jhaptal will be like that, and trital will be like this. You can talk like that. Oh, this is the trital. Da din din da din din da din din da. This is called trital. or you can make it this adra, you can dhage nake nake din, dhage nake nake. Now, you can speak with your mouth, it is easy. But then you are given a tabla, okay, play it. Do it, show me. Don't talk just with your mouth that this is this tal, this is that tal, this beat, that beat. Yeah, I hear what you say, but now you do it. That is not simple. That will take you years of learning and practicing and further practicing and learning and being expert in that. So to tell only by this logic, this is a logic. Neti, neti, not this, not this. That is how you realize the non-dual Brahman. So meditate on that which is not this, not this. Whatever you hear, whatever you see, whatever you can touch, smell, anything, and it is crossing your mind, and is that Brahman? No, it is not. So you reduce all those objects. It is not object, it is not objectifiable. So anything which is object is not that Atman, myself. I am not this, not this, not this, not the body, not the mind, not the prana and mind. Very easy to say so, but to do so is how difficult? Well, you take the example of Buddha. Example of Buddha. He was not an ordinary person, he was God incarnated in human body. And think of the level of difficulty that he faced. He went that way. His path was that, to realize the truth within, not outside. That was the reaching that which is not this, not this, not this method. They call it by different name, and their philosophers after Buddha, they have analyzed in their own way. But it was the path of jnana through which it was the search for one's true self, removing all the other levels of identification. And how much struggle and difficulty he has to overcome. It was not simple and easy and quick fix. So when we see those examples, when we see the example of Buddha, or Totapuri, great sannyasi, came to Sri Ramakrishna, he was the knower of Brahman, he was a Brahmagyani. How he realized Brahman and what was his background? Then it is told that at 5 years of age, 6 years of age, he was given to the ashram by his parents, because parents has promised to God that if any son is born to us, they did not have any child. If any son is born to us, because girl child cannot be given to ashram, that was not the practice. Those women were not going to ashram. A boy is born, a son is born, then at 5, 6 years age, when it is possible for the boy to not wholly depend on the mother and father, then we shall give the boy to an ashram. So that they kept the promise, and this boy was raised by great yogis and swamis in an ashram. Saintly swamis were there, according to him and recorded in the great master. Totapuri had reported to Sri Ramakrishna that in his ashram there were several knowers of Brahman. So Brahmagyanis were there. Totapuri was not the only knower of Brahman in their ashram. There were others also. So that kind of an ashram, a jewel of a monastery. There this boy was raised, and it took 40 years for him to be blessed with the realization of self. He became a self-realized soul after 40 years of continuously one-pointed practice and struggle under the guidance of great Swami. So this process is right, process is perfect. Neti, 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 and realize the truth of Brahman, self, yourself. But it is not that easy and simple. It is not a quick fix thing. This is what Sri Ramakrishna is telling, that it is not that, it is not easy. So when you are starting, your starting point should be accepting Shakti also. Brahman and its manifestation, Shakti. Everything is the power of Brahman. Start from there. But there is another state in which God reveals to his devotee that Brahman is beyond both knowledge and ignorance. It cannot be described in words. What exists, exists. After a pleasant conversation with the sadhu, the master returned to the carriage. The holy man walked with him. Sri Ramakrishna looked upon him as a friend of long acquaintance, and they walked arm in arm. So, walked means walked to the gate. From wherever the sadhu was seated under the tree, from there they met, and then they walked to the gate, where on the roadside the carriage was. Master, he is a very nice man. To Ram, bring him to Dakshineshwar when you come. He is really good man. There is a line in a song to the effect that a man cannot recognize a holy person unless he is holy himself. And later on we see in these gospel pages that Ram actually brought that sadhu to Dakshineshwar. One such meeting is mentioned here. The sadhu believes in God without form. This is what Sri Ramakrishna is telling to all others. The sadhu has returned back to his place, and Sri Ramakrishna is talking. God without form, that is good. God is both formless and endowed with form. He is many things more. The absolute and the relative belong to one and the same reality. What is beyond speech and mind is born in the flesh, assuming various forms and engaging in various activities. Suppose the master of a house has sent out a small boy of the family to invite people to a feast. That means there is a feast and there is an invite to the feast, and the rich man, a landlord, he has got an invite for the feast. Then instead of his going himself, he sends somebody. So master of a house has sent out a small boy to attend the feast. All look on the boy with great fondness and affection because he is the son or grandson of a prominent man. So this is the idea about how God incarnates in human body, though the human body has got so many imperfections. Human body has so much imperfection and cannot be equated with God or Brahman. Cannot be. So there are religions who very strongly oppose worshipping God in any human representative. Like the Protestant cannot accept that the Catholics are almost worshipping Jesus Christ or Mother Mary image as the God would in any way. Or the Muslims cannot accept any such representation of Godhood. Jews cannot accept. Buddhists, of course, they say there is no such thing as God, and the idea of God in a human form doesn't exist in Buddhism because God doesn't exist. But nevertheless, any Buddhist temple you go and you find what is God worship, God worshipped in the form, you will know there. But there are religions who say that it is not true and not possible and should not be done and all these things. But Sri Ramakrishna gives this example that this boy of a rich man, he is sent to represent the family or the person because he cannot go. And that boy is taken so much care of and so much attention is paid to the boy and so much respectfully and honorably received and treated very nicely. It is not because he is a small boy. It is because he is the son or grandson of such and such person. That's why. That's why. So when God incarnates in human body, that is the way you worship God in that human personality. You are not worshipping the human body. It is the symbol or representative. That is what you are doing. The master took refreshment at Surendra's garden house and then set out for Dakshineswar with the devotees. We don't hear or read here that Surendra was present there. But when master took some refreshment in Surendra's house because he was visiting his garden house, so some people were there, the keeper of the garden house, some manager was there. And they won't let him go without sitting in their sitting room and taking something for a refreshment. That is not acceptable. So Sri Ramakrishna just now was fed with some refreshment in Ram's house, and now he was visiting Surendra's house. There also he was eating. He had a good appetite. And it was afternoon time actually. They were visiting because same evening they returned to Dakshineswar. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Pada Padme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Taking refuge at the feet of Mother Sarada Devi and Sri Ramakrishna, the teacher of the world, I bow down again and again.